You're the director of a think tank, and your company has been working for the past year at producing a research. Everyone has been involved. A lot of analysis has been done. The white paper gets published. It gets sent to your email list. 80 contacts receive it. And then nothing. Nothing really feels like the needle has been moved. Now, rather than being the exception, this tends to be the reality of the world we're in. This is In Evidence, and this podcast series is created especially for think tanks, research organizations, and nonprofit who want to better understand how they can use a series of disciplines that go beyond communication to understand how to shape society and create more impact. So the majority of think tanks, research companies, organizations whose main mission is to create an impact on society spend a disproportionate amount of time into the creation of content, the creation of research. And then for them, the part of communication and impact is just an afterthought. This is what I call the iceberg model. In the iceberg model, 90% of the efforts go into research and only 10% go into real dissemination of content. In the iceberg model, creating an effective white paper that people really want to read, an event, press release if someone remembers to write it, it's just what comes after, and it's usually not given priority in research-heavy organizations. So usually this kind of organizations tend to have a hierarchical structure where the first part is research, that what gets the lion's share, and then only after communication is considered. Now, the problem is not the iceberg itself. The problem is actually not the research itself. The problem is that in the world we live in order to create more impact, these companies need to consider a whole range of things that come after publishing their studies. To do that, they need to access disciplines that are slightly related to what they have been doing, but never really considered. What I'm thinking of is, for example, innovation, marketing, it's user experience research. So doing this will enable research organizations, think tanks, what I call knowledge-first organizations, to also have a better impact on society and to help shape the actions of tomorrow. Now, let's have a look at the current model and why it doesn't work anymore. The current model is built around the idea that good research by itself is enough. This tends to look something like, if you do good research, quality will speak for itself. You will produce something which looks great, which is peer-reviewed, which is intrinsically of very high quality, and that by itself it's gonna be sufficient. Good quality speaks for itself. Now, the reason why that model doesn't make sense anymore is because on one side, it's a model that has been created where information cycles were slower, and also where the number of people that you had to influence were also slower. There is also a second reason, which means that traditionally for a lot of institutions like this relying on public funds, the part of access to sources was coming at the beginning. And traditionally, communication was just one of the things that you could do within the funds that you were granted access to. So you were applying for a fund, you were doing your research, and that communication was just one of the parts of how to disseminate what you have been researching on. Whereas today, a lot of events are showing that this model is shifting. Public funds is shrinking, and a lot of think tanks, research institutions are looking at de-risking their organization model with the creation of basically what tends to resemble new revenue streams, in which you also look for support from private institutions and donors and funds that come from elsewhere. Or, for example, to become service provider themselves, or to create academies and ways in which they can disseminate their knowledge in exchange for money. For example, if you look into the area of geopolitics is booming, and also a lot of private companies nowadays want to have more geopolitics experts within their job, say within the new positions they're hiring for. That means that a lot of these think tanks are in an awesome position to train and form people that will go to work for these companies. So from this point of view, think tanks are resembling more either a media company or an academy than the traditional think tank model itself. And the good thing about this model is that by doing this, think tanks, research organizations can really de-risk their organization model because they don't depend anymore just on public. But also doing this requires a huge transition, a huge transformation. So thinking of communication and marketing also, not as just the afterthought, but as the vehicle that enables the transition, they makes it so. So whereas before the communication bit was actually almost just a reporting problem, we have done this research and here is the document that proves that we've done so. Now marketing is really what enables the whole machine to run. This organization want to explore new disciplines like, for example, innovation, to test new programs, to test even new products that they're launching, to understand how these products can shape society, can be seen by the audience that is receiving them. Then use the right communication and marketing strategies in order to distribute them. And ultimately, user experience and user experience research to understand how their work influences behavior and shapes society. So the central proposition of In Evidence of this podcast is that communication needs to move from just being the tip of the iceberg to be something way more substantial than that. And it also needs to be helped by a lot of other disciplines. Instead of 90-10, I would advocate for a shift that looks more like 50-50. It's not about making research less rigorous. It's not about lowering the quality of research. It's more about recognizing that the two disciplines need to go hand in hand, and one really supports the other. Because by having more impact, your company, your institution will also be able to support more and better research. So this podcast is for directors and comms at research-heavy organizations that are trying to shape society. If you're a company that has never done any communication and marketing and is approaching this for the first time, or if you're working at a company and you've been constantly advocating for the need of better communication and better outreach and engagement with your audience. So this podcast is for you. This podcast is made to inspire you on the transition and what the most advanced research organizations are already doing and testing in order to create more impact. It will give you a range of ideas and things that you can consider exploring at your institution as well in order to be more prominent with the actors that you want to influence. What's coming next is going to be a series of episodes where we are diving deeper into research, into understanding how the range of disciplines that you want to apply to traditional research might complement it. And also we're going to have interviews with peoples and actors who have already been applying the shift. And from them, we'll try to understand what works and what doesn't. My name is Federico Spiezia. This is In Evidence, and stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to explore why the traditional communication model is broken. What are the forces that are changing the way in which communication, what are the forces that are shaping society, and what to do about that. Thank you for listening.